That is a piece called Butterfly by Edvard Grieg. And he's one of the 4 composers that I'll be presenting this Sunday at a benefit concert for Music and Beyond. Grieg is a composer that's been rather neglected, or maybe shoved to one side these days. Everybody knows sort of the Peer Gynt Suite and the concerto, but he wrote delightful little lyric pieces, and I will be playing 7 of them. Highly influenced by Schumann, but very, very much his own man. Grieg wrote these lyric pieces all of his life. Debussy rather rudely said they were like little pink bonbons filled with ice. I think that's a bit catty. The 7 that I will be playing, they're called Once Upon a Time. There's this Butterfly piece, which is lovely. There's a piece called Gade, Gade being a composer who much influenced Grieg. Salon, and my favorite, which is called At Your Feet. And I'll just play a little bit of that for you. It's actually a very great piece, I think, and on a level with Schumann, who he so admired. So it's At Your Feet, and it's sort of a love poem to his wife. So on. The other pieces I'm playing by Grieg are also Puck, very sprightly piece, and then Wedding Day at his home in near Bergen in Norway. All these pieces very, very much infused with Norwegian folk music as well. Fascinating pieces. The second composer I will be presenting is Maurice Ravel, something quite different. The next generation of composers. We're into the French Impressionists here. And this piece that I'm playing was the very first sort of breakout piece that Ravel wrote that made him very, very famous in the early 1900s. And it's called Joue. And I'll just play the opening. Interestingly, I always feel it's highly influenced by Franz Liszt and Chopin. But Ravel went his own way into the French Impressionism. It's a very, very beautiful piece, and Ravel was one of the greatest composers for understanding the keyboard. And so he uses the whole keyboard of the piano with absolute brilliance and colors and lyricism, and it's fascinating anyway to see how music has evolved from the Grieg to the Ravel. The next composer that I'm playing, I hardly ever play a concert without including him, is Frédéric Chopin, the great Polish composer. And I will be playing a few pieces of his, one of them being the wonderful Fourth Ballade, and I'll be playing a couple of mazurkas as well. Now, the last composer that will be presented in this concert is Ludwig van Beethoven, the great Beethoven. And we're doing something quite unusual and probably hasn't been done very often in Canada before, or even in the world before. It's the fourth piano concerto, perhaps the most beautiful one, by Beethoven in G major, that he wrote right at the height of his powers. He was writing all his greatest music at that time. In 1806, I think he premiered it. But this is a piece for piano and full orchestra. But what we're doing is we're playing it in a version for piano and just 5 strings, which makes this quite unusual. But there was a reason for this. If you think back into the 19th century, people loved music, of course, but they didn't have CDs, they didn't have television, they didn't have movies. So how did they ever get to hear this music? But they didn't have an orchestra down the road all the time. And so they had a lot of house music. A lot of people from the middle classes and upper classes played these instruments. And they would just get 5 strings together and make a little arrangement and play the Beethoven symphonies or Beethoven piano concertos in this way, in a very intimate way in their homes. And some very fine composers actually would make these arrangements and get them published. And the very fine composer who did this one was Vinzenz Lachner from Germany. So those are the 4 composers I will be presenting on Sunday, and I do hope everybody enjoys it very, very much. Thank you.